call meeting. Today's Friday, January 6th. The time is now 1:06 p.m. It's a great privilege today to have with us one of our county councilmen, Mr. Derek Pugh of Blythewood, and he wanted to come and speak to us as a council and share some ideas and some concerns he may have. So, sir, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all for having me. The purpose for wanting to sit down and talk as a group is to try to figure out what we can do better as a county and what we can do better as a town, so far as bridging the gap between what we have going on here and Blythewood. I know we both as two different municipalities, and sometimes we can get caught in working in silos, but we all experience the same thing here. I live 3 miles away from here, so everything on a daily basis that affects you, it affects me. One of the things that is high on my priority list is to continue to control. I hate to use the word control, but try to guide smart development here in Blythewood. One of the things that I when I ran for office, that's one of the things that was on the top of my list. And it's not getting better. And I recall maybe a couple of weeks ago, leaving my house, and on a good day, we're getting caught by all the red lights. I probably can get to Blythewood High School in 10 minutes. On this particular day, it took me about 45 to 50 minutes to get from my house to me seeing where the entrance was with Blythewood High School. And for me, I understand that growth is inevitable, but at the end of the day, smart growth is what we need, because we don't want to diminish the quality of life. And so I've taken a few steps here in this council season of 23 to move forward with that. We have a lot of great industries coming, and I feel that in order for us to get a grasp on our quality of life, we need to slow down for a minute. And so I've submitted a motion to start researching impact fees when it comes to development. Because what we're having here is we're having a lot of outside developers that are coming into our town, and they're developing and they're leaving. And because SCDOT says, hey, all you gotta have is a decel lane, they put a decel lane in and then build thousands of homes, and then they pack up and they leave. But in actuality, we need more than just decel lanes. We need to be strategic about how we move when it comes to the infrastructure of Blythewood. And I said this, and I think I've said this to each and every one of you. It's unfortunate, but where we are with our infrastructure, we're about 10 or 15 years behind. And that comes from grasping the low-hanging fruit and not thinking about what Blythewood is going to look like in 2033. And that's the focus for me of what Blythewood is going to look like 5 to 10 years down the line, so we can make solid decisions and be in alignment with each other to make sure we're all going in the same direction. So, coupled with the motion that I submitted at last council meeting, which what happens is that motion will be assigned to a committee. The committee will work out the kinks of what that looks like as far as research and in comparison to other counties that have those types of impact fees. Impact fee is a dirty word. I know it's a dirty word, but at the end of the day, we cannot allow this to continue to happen with folks just coming in and building, and then we're left holding the bag. And then 5 years from now, we looking at each other sitting at this type of table saying, hey guys, we got to raise taxes in order to get these roads where they need to be and to make sure that we have everything up to par. My mindset for that is, I was sitting on Farrell Road, and we all on 2-lane highways. I was sitting there and I watched EMS not able to bypass any traffic because there was a ditch on this side, and we had a 2-lane highway. And so if you got taxpayers paying taxes to Richland County, and they're not able to get the essential services such as fire and EMS, that's a problem. So the solution to it is not to continue to build houses and build houses and build houses. So coupled with the motion that I presented the other night, I am also working with our legal team to see what does a moratorium look like when it comes to zoning, at least until we can get some industry here, or at least we can find out some unique ways in order for us to support more homes coming, to support more economic development here in Blythewood. I just think it's just very, very key. If you want to see what a mess looks like, and I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say this, come right here to what's the name of this road right here?
Langford and Blackwood Road.
Langford and Blackwood Road, and see the bottleneck that takes place every morning and the bottleneck that takes place every evening. And Lord forbid if the train wants to come through, which I haven't seen in a long time, that's a whole nother factor that's factored into it. And then you're talking about the school district is in the process of trying to build another high school at the end of Langford Road. So those are the top things on my list, is to continue to make sure that we move forward with smart growth, and to make sure that we galvanize the support of those people that are coming into our communities, to make sure that they understand how close-knit Blythewood is. I get it. I was listening to the lady earlier today, and she was saying that, you know, the small town feel. That's why me and my wife decided to build a home here, because of the small town feel. I'm from Dillon, South Carolina, and this is about as close as I'm going to get to Dillon, South Carolina going forward in my life. So, and I too understand that if we want economic development, we're going to have rooftops. We're going to have infrastructure with roads and all the other things that make it essential for us to have a good quality of life. But we have to be smart about the way we do it. And I don't think anybody sitting at this table, because I've had individual conversations with each and every one of you, I don't think that anybody is opposed to us slowing it down and trying to figure out what's going on. And I think everybody at this table knows that we can't just say that we don't want this to happen, because what's happening is it's coming from our neighbors. It's and I'm just using this for an example. You might have Rich, who has a family property that has hundreds and hundreds of acres, but your family is no longer here. And then the people that have gained this property through heirs property, they don't even live here. So when developers come to them and talk to them about it, those are the phone calls that we get from people saying, hey, we want to develop. And then you got your neighbor right next door is looking at Richland County and saying, you guys don't let them develop? It's like, no, you need to talk to Mr. Rich about the development and where the characteristics of the county be, what the town is going, and express your interest in him. Because it kind of sort of puts us in a position where we look like we're the bad guys. And so my way of operating is to stop from breaking the law, because I can very well say no moratorium, no impact fees. I'm just going to block everything that comes through Richland County as far as development, and that's against the law. That's contractual zoning, and we can't do that. That's like me saying, hey, if you go and you build this right here for us, we'll allow you to come in and do that. We can't do that. But we need our community, the voices, to be heard. That way I work for you guys. And so when I work for you, if you voice that this is something that you don't want in the community, then I can go back and say, hey, my reasoning for saying that we're not having this is because I met with the community and it's an overwhelming response saying that we don't want it. We know that we have huge industry that's coming to Blythewood. What is that going to take? It's going to take us building relationships with people and having them to buy in to the characteristics of Blythewood. Not just saying, hey, you guys are coming, but we need you guys to do this, and this. It's going to be more so of us collectively, and when I say us, I mean each and every one of us at this table, building a relationship with whoever decides to develop the industrial park, and sit down and have those conversations with them and help them understand how important Blythewood is to us moving forward, and not You need, not going in there and saying, you better do this or this, and this, but saying, hey, if you're gonna be a part of the community, you're bringing livable wages in, you're gonna be a real part of this community. We also need this, and this to help us move forward. And I'm really at a point when it comes to leadership for us to have those and facilitate those conversations to make sure that we get everything that we need. And so those are the two high points of some of the things that I'm working on here in Blythewood. That's just compound on things that I've already done. To date, as far as being here in office, I have not approved one piece of zoning that will bring more rooftops to Blythewood until we figure out where we are and what's going on with that. What's going on with that portion of the development, because it's not contractual zoning, but we're having these town halls where people come. And it's just like the very first development that we had to turn down when I came into office. We had a town hall, people voiced their opinions, and I was able to go back to the table and say, hey, my community doesn't want this in their community. We gotta have a voice, and you do have a voice. And we also need to have some type of education for people. When I was sitting here listening to the lady speaking, I get it all the time. Like, why would y'all allow this gas station to come? Why would y'all allow this right here to come or this to come? It's not that we're allowing it, it fits the characteristics of what is already in place. So what do? We say, no, you can't have this, Carol, and it's not gonna happen, and then Carol mounts up with his big time lawyers and comes and sues us, and then this is what happens. He sues us, he wins, he takes our money and continues to build his gas station in our community. And so I think that just comes from, and this is not to be disparaging on anyone, it comes from the lack of education and the lack of knowledge of understanding how these things work. And so I think us getting together and having more of these conversations, which I'm going to do more of facilitating these types of things, because well, as of last year, I was the chair of the small business ad hoc committee, which was for 2 months, which was November and December. So I'm hoping that I will be reappointed to that committee, and then I can reapply to be chair again. And that way we can have these informational conversations to help our constituents understand that we won't have to deal with those types of questions, and people understand. What I've grown to realize and understand is people are upset and mad because they don't understand and they don't feel like their voices are being heard. But 9 times out of 10, if it's an education piece in place and folks are allowed to understand what's going on, I think most people will be all right with it. And then I've also figured out this part too. Most people will just say things, but then their next comment is, well, you guys are gonna do what you guys are gonna do anyway. And that's not the case. I don't want to be that type of leader. I want to make sure that we encompass everybody that has some stake in the game when it comes to making sure our town grows the way it needs to grow. And just to couple back off a few things that I just said a few minutes ago, I moved here because it was quiet and it was nice and it was close to where I'm from. It resembles close to where I'm from. But unfortunately, we don't have that luxury anymore. But what I'm not going to allow people to do is to pile things on top of us. I've heard you say it multiple times, Mr. Mayor. I know I've heard these gentlemen say it, and everybody at this table. We understand growth is coming, but it's the way that growth comes that's important to us, and making sure that we're not trying to get to baseball practice or trying to get to our community gatherings that we have, and we're sitting in traffic for hours like we live in Atlanta. We don't live in Atlanta. And I don't want to have traffic like we live in Atlanta. But unfortunately, traffic is everywhere, and that's because people are just allowing folks to do whatever they want to do. And so I think those two things that I just mentioned would give us some breathing room. I hate to even say this out loud. Give us some breathing room until they figure out what our track is going to look like. And a couple of other penny projects that alleviate some of the stress of the traffic. One of the things that I did say when it comes to the penny project, I know he's talking about the roundabout over in front of Cobblestone. Yeah, a lot of people for it, a lot of people against it. I think roundabouts are a good way to keep the traffic flowing. But what I don't want to do is you talk about wasting taxpayers' money. I don't want us in the next couple of months that will give us the autonomy to be able to figure out what those penny projects look like going forward. But those penny projects, understanding our environment when it comes to who's coming into our community, and making sure that we have open line of communication to help with some of the things that you guys are trying to do. Who's that? Someone said Richland County has X amount of dollars for H-tax. There's other avenues. Nobody's ever come to me, send an email, or ask me anything about H-tax dollars. As a matter of fact, I initiated those conversations and said, hey, I have this pot of money that I can do X with, but this is what I need from you in order for me to allocate those funds. I have yet to receive an email with that information. It's not my money, and it's not Richland County's money, it's the taxpayers' money. And so, of course, we've changed let's be clear, we didn't change anything. We started following the guidelines of the statutes that were put in place at the state level, because that wasn't happening. And so with H-tax, infrastructure, advertising for events, those types of things that we can fund and make them and make these events better and lifelong. I was sitting there the whole time thinking, like, you guys don't have to eat the whole cow by yourself. You don't. We can partner and make these things grand and make them better, but we gotta have communication with each other and understanding what's going on. Since I've been in office, I think the number is 30. I've given over $30,000 to the Blythewood Historical Society. Not because they came and asked me. It's because when I started looking around in Blythewood at things that I could support, they were already in the app, and they had already submitted the application. They were already in the document. So all I had to do was send an email and say, hey,